Chapter 949. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two blood-colored astral sabers slashed down at Lu Ming with terrifying might. Lu Ming snorted coldly as he took a step forward and sent out two palm strikes. With two crisp sounds, the two blood-colored astral saber lights shattered. The two youths from the blood saber continent narrowed their eyes in shock. The two of them had used almost all their strength in the earlier two slashes. However, they were easily defeated by Lu Ming. Not good. It's a peak expert. Run! The black mold youth shouted as he turned and ran. The other youth did the same. They knew that they had met a peak genius of the divine desolate continent. Lu Ming snorted coldly and stepped forward. His body was like a ray of light as he caught up to the two youths and sent out two palm strikes. Although the two youths did their best to block, they still vomited blood and crashed into the ground, leaving behind a huge crater. Lu Ming landed and a powerful aura enveloped the two youths. He said coldly, "Speak. Where are the people of the divine desolate continent? Don't even think about it. If I speak, won't I still die? Since I'm going to die, I won't speak." The black mold youth revealed a crazed look. At the same time, a bloody light flashed as if the blood in his body was burning. He roared and turned into a saber light as he charged in a certain direction. The other youth also revealed a crazed look as he turned into a saber light and charged in another direction. "You're courting death." Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps and chased after the black mold youth. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, how fast could he be when using the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps? He caught up to the black mold youth in a few moments and punched, killing him. Following which, Lu Ming turned and charged at the other person. Kill! That person was incomparably crazy. Seeing that he could not escape, his eyes turned red as he charged at Lu Ming like a wild beast. However, the difference in strength was too great, so he was easily killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned slightly. The cultivation techniques of the Bloodblade continent's people were tyrannical, and they didn't fear death. They were incomparably crazy. Lu Ming hadn't been able to get any information from them. The 9 dragons' bloodline appeared and devoured the essence blood of the two youths from the Bloodblade continent. Just now, the two of them headed north. Perhaps they'll find something there. With a thought, Lu Ming flew north. 1,000,000 miles to the north of Lu Ming, a great battle was taking place in a mountain range. On a mountain peak, light flickered. It was incomparably dazzling, and inscriptions filled the air. One after another, great formations appeared, forming a light shield that enveloped the mountain peak within. There were several hundred people on the mountain peak. All of them were disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect. A portion of them were sitting cross-legged, while the rest were continuously carving inscriptions around the mountain peak. The leader had a head of long silver hair and a pair of eyes. He was an illusion. With him as the leader, there were also Wen Yuezhang, Bai Qi, Shui, Ji Mai, and the others. Whoosh! Whoosh! Outside the mountain peak, blood-red saber light flashed. It was incomparably terrifying, as if it was going to split the heavens and earth apart as it slashed towards Huanzhen and the others. The saber light slashed at the light shield, causing it to tremble continuously. Huanzhen and the others' bodies also trembled slightly. There were more than a dozen people around the mountain peak, but a few of them had shocking auras that were incomparably terrifying. Every one of them wore blood-red robes and carried blood-red sabers on their backs. They were dressed exactly the same as the two youths from the Bloodblade continent that Lu Ming had encountered previously. Talisman Puppet sect, with your little strength, you can all die. A youth with blood-red hair said coldly. His strength was the most terrifying, and his aura was powerful. When he slashed out with his saber, the light shield violently trembled. Why are you so ruthless? Our Talisman Puppet sect has no intention of fighting with you for the last totem pillar. Huanzhen said. Hee, a bunch of flies. Looks like a hindrance. Moreover, you have quite a lot of luck points. You'll be a fat piece of meat if we snatch it. The youth with blood-red hair sneered. The other youths sneered as well. More than a dozen of them attacked together, slashing their saber light towards the mountain peak. When Yuezhang, Bai Qi, Shui and the others trembled slightly. They had exhausted a lot of their mental strength. If this continued, their mental strength would be exhausted. Once they lost the protection of the formation, the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect would only be tortured to death. The other party was too strong. This was only a portion of the people from the Blood Blade continent, but there were two people who were at the same level as Huan Zhen. Once the formation was broken, Huan Zhen could only block one person, but the other person could easily kill the rest. Moreover, the other youths were also extremely powerful. Some people revealed bitter expressions. The battle of karmic luck this time had exceeded their expectations. There were actually heaven's prides from other continents participating. It was even more dangerous than the previous battles of karmic luck. If things went wrong, the Talisman Puppet sect might be completely annihilated. Wait a moment. I'll inscribe a formation to block them with all my strength. Hurry up and leave. Huan Zhen suddenly transmitted his voice to Wen Yuezhang, Bai Qi, Shui and the others. Senior brother Huan Zhen, we can't leave together. Wen Yuezhang hurriedly said. If Huan Zhen stayed behind to block them alone, he would definitely be in danger. That's right. If we leave together. If we stay together. The others also shouted one after another. None of you can leave. Blood God's blade wheel. Break. The blood-red-haired youth shouted coldly. An even more terrifying aura exploded from his body. A giant blood-red wheel floated above his head. This blood-red wheel seemed to be formed by countless blood-red battle blades. It spun rapidly and was as large as a mountain, crushing towards the light barrier of the mountain peak. Not good. Hold on. Huan Zhen and the others' faces changed drastically. The mental fire between their eyebrows flickered rapidly, constantly spreading out and surging into the surrounding inscriptions. Boom! The blood-red wheel heavily slammed against the light barrier of the mountain peak. The earth rumbled and the mountain peak shook violently. The light barrier that enveloped the mountain peak continuously shattered layer by layer. Huan Zhen and the others' faces changed drastically. Their bodies trembled and some of the weaker ones even spurted out a mouthful of blood. Those disciples who were sitting cross-legged or recovering from their injuries also stood up to help protect the formation. However, the blood-red wheel was too terrifying. It spun continuously like countless battle blades, constantly slashing at the light barrier. Bam! 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 The light barrier continued to shatter and it looked like it was about to shatter completely. Release the puppets and use the inscription scrolls to open a path. Charge out! Huan Zhen shouted. At this moment, with a boom, all the formations collapsed and the light barrier shattered. Numerous disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect released their puppets and surrounded everyone. At the same time, waves of inscription scrolls were activated. They either turned into defensive or offensive puppets as they all charged in the same direction. Trying to escape. All of you can die. The blood-red-haired youth controlled the giant wheel and pressed forward, causing countless puppets to explode. Dozens of blade lights slashed out, also attacking the puppets and the inscription scrolls. Although the Talisman Puppet sect had a large number of disciples, most of them weren't strong and were far inferior to the top experts of the Blood Knife continent. Among the dozens of disciples of the Blood Knife continent, the weakest was a prodigy at the 4th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Ah! Chapter 950. Damn it! Huan Zhen and the others roared as they retaliated. However, the blood-haired youth had his eyes on Huan Zhen and was using the huge will to suppress him. No matter how strong Huan Zhen was, he could only barely protect himself. Die! A skinny monkey-like youth from the Bloodblade continent had an extremely nimble movement technique. He was like a nimble flying knife that constantly flickered as saber light swept out, shattering a few puppets and sending out a few bolts of lightning, killing a Talisman Puppet sect disciple with a single strike. Then, he took a deep breath and absorbed the blood of the Talisman Puppet sect's disciples through his nose. Ha ha ha, how delicious. Such blood chi. The skinny youth's face was filled with enjoyment as his gaze became even more sinister. Whoosh! Right at this moment, a spear ray tore through the sky from the south. It was extremely fast as it stabbed towards the skinny youth. What's that? The skinny youth was startled and immediately wanted to dodge. However, he discovered that he was completely locked onto by the spear ray. A terrifying killing intent enveloped him and he had nowhere to run. He could only use his full strength to resist. A terrifying blade ray slashed out from the skinny youth's hand, but when it collided with the spear ray, the blade ray shattered and the spear ray shot out and pierced through the skinny youth's throat. The skinny youth's eyes were wide open and filled with unwillingness before he died. Whoosh! Whoosh! Over a dozen spear rays flew over from the distance and stabbed towards the Bloodblade Continent's geniuses. Ah! Several miserable cries rang out as several experts of the Bloodblade Continent were killed. Who? Damn it! The blood-haired youth roared as he controlled the huge will to block the remaining spear rays. The other geniuses of the Bloodblade Continent were startled and they did not continue to kill the Talisman Puppet Sect's disciples. Instead, they gathered around the blood-haired youth and looked in the direction of the spear ray. Huan Zhen and the others did the same as they all looked in that direction. Who would come to save the Talisman Puppet Sect? A blue-robed youth stepped through the air and appeared before everyone's eyes. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. Bai Qi Shui was the first to cry out. The one who had attacked earlier was Lu Ming, who had come all the way from the south. He had come all the way north and did not expect to encounter the Bloodblade Continent's experts attacking the Talisman Puppet Sect's disciples. Needless to say, the two youths from the Bloodblade Continent had most likely come as reinforcements. Lu Ming isn't dead. When Yuezhang, Gong Fei, and the others were overjoyed. Previously, on Sky Poison Island, Lu Ming had gone all the way and hadn't returned. Later on, when the island was sealed by the poison gas, everyone who hadn't died had left Sky Poison Island. However, Lu Ming hadn't come out. When Yuezhang and Gong Fei thought that Lu Ming had met with an accident in the depths of the heavenly poison island and died. After they brought the news back, the Talisman Puppet Cult disciples lamented, and Bai Qi and Shui cried a few times. Only now did they feel better. Unexpectedly, Lu Ming actually didn't die and even appeared at this time. Lu Ming, hurry up and leave this place. Bai Qi Snow's complexion suddenly changed, shouting loudly. Lu Ming, leave now. When Yuezhang also shouted. Although Lu Ming was strong, Lu Ming had easily killed several geniuses of the 4th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. This was enough to prove that Lu Ming's strength had improved again. However, they were definitely no match for people like the blood-haired youth. Their strength was enough to fight against the top 10 of the list of top 1,000 talents. Even Huan Zhen was at a disadvantage. Wasn't Lu Ming courting death by coming here? It's too late for you to leave now. You must pay with your life for killing my people. The blood-haired youth's voice was incomparably cold. A huge knife wheel floated above his head, emitting a terrifying aura. It was a powerful secret treasure. Those who killed my Talisman Puppet Cult disciples must all die. Lu Ming didn't retreat, continuing to walk forward step by step. His voice was even colder than the blood-haired youth's. Shameless boasting. I'll kill him. A burly young man stepped out. He was more than 2 meters tall and was 2 heads taller than Lu Ming. The muscles on his body bulged and he was filled with explosive power. He held a huge sword in his hand that was as big as a door and stared at Lu Ming like a wild beast. Swoosh! He held the sword with both hands and rushed towards Lu Ming, slashing down with his knife. The 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm was this youth's cultivation. A dragon's roar rang out as Lu Ming exploded with a burst of dragon power. Scales covered his entire body as he punched out. Clang! The fist hit the huge knife, causing it to vibrate. Then, to everyone's horror, it collapsed, sending metal shards flying everywhere. Lu Ming didn't stop, nor did his fist. He continued to attack. Bam! The fist landed on the burly youth's body. The youth screamed as a huge hole appeared in his chest. He was killed instantly. The devouring power in his hand exploded, turning the burly youth into a dried corpse. So strong, Lu Ming Zongzi is so strong. A disciple of the Talisman Puppet sect said excitedly. A peerless prodigy of the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm was killed by Lu Ming with a single punch. What kind of battle power did Lu Ming have? Bai Qi Shui and the rest stared with their eyes wide open. Lu Ming's battle power is much stronger than 5 months ago. Wen Yuezhang said. Then can he be a match for those people? Bai Qi Shui looked at the blood-haired youth with a worried expression. I don't know. Wen Yuezhang shook his head. At this moment, the youths of the Blood Knife continent were all staring with their eyes wide open. The blood-haired youth's expression also turned serious. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. His battle intent was like a rainbow, and his killing intent was like a tide. His body was like lightning as he charged towards the youth of the Blood Knife continent. Let's attack together and kill him. The blood-haired youth shouted as he controlled the huge knife will to attack Lu Ming. Lu Ming's glabella lit up, and the mountain river diagram appeared. It grew rapidly and surrounded the huge knife wheel. The huge knife wheel kept spinning and attacking, but it couldn't break the defense of the mountain river diagram. Damn it, I can still kill you without the knife wheel. The blood-haired youth shouted coldly as he slashed out with the battle knife in his hand. There was another youth who was equally terrifying. He was at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm, and his battle power was astonishing. He was no weaker than Devil Lord Luo Tian. Both of them were comparable to the top 10 of the list of top 1,000 talents. Roar! The bloodline of the 9 dragons appeared and roared. The devouring power exploded and enveloped all the youths of the Blood Knife continent. Those with lower cultivations trembled, and their eyes were filled with shock. The vital essence and qi in their bodies became unstable and were about to be devoured. Bam! Bam! Lu Ming blasted out 5 palms and 6 kicks in an instant, killing 5 youths of the Blood Knife continent. He also killed one with his shoulder. Lu Ming had fought with more than a dozen spirit gods for a long time on Sky Poison Island. In addition to the increase in his cultivation, his use of martial techniques had also improved greatly. Now, every muscle and bone in his body could use the Hell-Suppressing Heaven skill. Even his hair could use the Hell-Suppressing Heaven skill. With a flick of his hair, it contained the supreme power to suppress the 9th Hell Prison. Chapter 951. That was to say, Lu Ming was 30% stronger than himself before he entered the Sky Poison Island in a battle of the same level. Before he entered the Sky Poison Island, he definitely wasn't a match for the current him. In other words, his ability to fight those of a higher level was even stronger. Boom! Boom! 2 loud sounds rang out. Only the blood-haired youth and the other 2 strongest experts were able to contend against Lu Ming. However, their eyes were filled with incomparable shock. Lu Ming was actually able to kill other experts while fighting the 2 of them. His battle power was simply terrifying. Wang! Wang! Blade Qi soared into the sky as the remaining people unleashed their bloodlines. They were all blood-colored battle blade bloodlines, just that their levels were different. The blood-haired youth and the other youth had 6 golden chakras on their blades. 6th level divine level bloodline. The remaining people all had 5th level divine level bloodlines. The remaining people executed bloodline fusion at the same time, transforming into blood-colored battle blades with shocking blade intent. Lu Ming, let me help you. Huanzhen stepped into the air, and with every step he took, inscriptions would spread out in the air. No need. Help me hold the line and prevent anyone from escaping. Lu Ming said. This caused Huanzhen to be stunned. Was Lu Ming planning to leave all the people of the Blood Blade continent here? Wasn't he too confident? The other people of the Talisman Puppet sect also looked at each other in shock and anticipation. Such big words. Watch how I kill you. A furious voice came from one of the battle blades as it transformed into 1,000 meters long and slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure flashed and merged with the Nine Dragons' bloodline. The Nine Dragons' bloodline roared as it stepped out with its 9 claws. Boom! Boom! Violent energy bombarded over. Other than the 2 blood blades of the 6th level divine level, the other blood blades all exploded and returned to their human forms. They fell to the ground lifelessly. As for the 2 blood blades of the 6th level divine level, their blade chi collapsed and they were sent flying. The 2 of them were at the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm and were on the same level as Lu Ming. How could they be a match for Lu Ming? At the same level, Lu Ming had never met a worthy opponent. Not good, he's too strong. Let's go, split up. The crimson-haired youth's horrified voice came from a blood saber. Lu Ming's previous actions had far exceeded his expectations. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 blood blades fled in 2 different directions at high speed. Where to? In one direction, a formation appeared, and Huan Zhen's figure suddenly appeared, blocking a blood saber. Out of the way! A voice came from the blood-red saber, and the saber light slashed toward Huan Zhen. Huan Zhen's silver hair danced in the wind, and silver light flashed in his eyes. Spell formations appeared around him, transforming into numerous silver swords that slashed toward the blood-red saber. Boom! Boom! The crimson saber couldn't break through at all. Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons. The dragon claws stepped on the air and caught up to the other blood saber. The blood-red saber was transformed from the blood-haired young man. The 9 dragons clawed at the blood blade. Seeing that it couldn't escape, the blood-red saber roared and slashed at the 9 dragons. But under the 9 dragons' unstoppable dragon claws, the saber chi was shattered. Clang! Clang! The 9 dragon claws grabbed the blood-red saber and pulled with all their might. The blood-red saber shattered into pieces, and the blood-haired young man's figure reappeared in the air. At this moment, his face was filled with panic, and his eyes were filled with horror. The 9 dragons twisted their bodies and charged toward him. Even if you can kill me, I won't let you have it easy. The blood-haired young man revealed a ferocious expression as he charged toward Lu Ming without fear of death. It was a pity that there was a huge gap between his combat ability and Lu Ming's. It was not something that could be made up for by being fearless. In just a few moves, he was struck by Lu Ming into pieces and died tragically on the spot. Then, the dragon twisted its body and charged toward the last youth from the Blood Blade continent. The outcome was destined. With Lu Ming and Huan Zhen, the young man was killed in a few moves. Not far away, the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect were silent. Their eyes widened in shock. A group of powerful youths from the Blood Blade continent who had followed Lu Ming were killed in an instant. Among them, there were 2 overwhelming geniuses who were comparable to the top 10 on the list of top 1,000 talents. But even they were killed by Lu Ming. This was simply unbelievable. They felt as if they were in a dream. The disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect who had been with Lu Ming were more shocked, but those who hadn't seen Lu Ming since the Battle of Providence were even more shocked. Before the Battle of Providence, although Lu Ming was strong, there was still a huge gap between him and the top 10 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. Not many people thought that Lu Ming could compete with them. First, Lu Ming could kill them. After the shock, they were ecstatic. Lu Ming was a Zongzi candidate of the Talisman Puppet sect. The stronger he was, the stronger the Talisman Puppet sect would be. The 9 dragons' bloodline erupted with a devouring power and devoured all the true yuan and blood essence of the people from the Blood Blade continent. Now, Lu Ming didn't have to worry about using the 9 dragons' bloodline. After devouring, Lu Ming returned to his human form. Lu Ming, thank you so much. Huan Zhen cupped his fists. His eyes were full of surprise. Lu Ming's progress was too great. This was the truth. When he first met Lu Ming, although Huan Zhen was very polite, that was just his character. In his heart, he did not expect Lu Ming to be able to reach this stage. He also did not treat Lu Ming as a genius of his level. But now, not only had Lu Ming reached this level, his strength had probably surpassed Huan Zhen's. You don't have to thank me. Fortunately, I'm not late. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, where have you been all this time? Why didn't I see you? The other disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect also gathered around. Bai Qi glared at Lu Ming, her eyes filled with joy and resentment. Yeah, Lu Ming, our little Qi Shui has been very worried about you. She missed you so much that she didn't even eat or drink. Huh. Wen Yuezhang joked at the side. Senior brother Wen, you're talking nonsense. What does his life have to do with me? Bai Qi Shui stamped her feet and her face turned red. Huh, you're shy. Wen Yuezhang laughed. The others on the side also laughed. They were very relaxed after escaping death. Bai Qi Shui's face turned even redder. Even her neck was red and she didn't dare to look at Lu Ming. Looking at Bai Qi Shui's shy expression, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he knew something was wrong. This girl can't have fallen for me, right? Looks like I can't tease her in the future. Lu Ming thought to himself. What's wrong with the people of the Blood Blade continent? Why are we being attacked by the people of the Blood Blade continent? Also, how long is it until the 1-year period of the Battle of Providence? Lu Ming quickly changed the topic and asked. As he spoke, he refined the energy that he had devoured. Most of the youths of the Blood Blade continent cultivated the blood intent or the saber intent, which was useless to him. Lu Ming, there are only 5 days left until the 1-year period of the Battle of Providence. Illusion and Reality Dao. 5 days. I've actually stayed on the Sky Poison Island for more than 5 months. Chapter 952. Although he had guessed that he had spent quite some time on the Sky Poison Island, he hadn't expected it to have been more than 5 months. If he had been a little later, the Battle of Karmic Luck would have ended. No wonder his cultivation had soared so much. It wasn't too fast for him to have risen by 3 levels in the past 5 months. After all, he had the bloodline of the 9 dragons. If he had fought the 3-eyed divine race outside, he might have risen by 2 or 3 levels. Lu Ming, you went deep into the Sky Poison Island and didn't return. The poisonous gas inside was too strong, and we couldn't enter. We were really afraid that something would happen to you. What happened to you on the Sky Poison Island? Wen Yuezhang asked. Lu Ming immediately told them about his encounter with the spirit gods of the 3-eyed divine race. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder. Lu Ming had actually been attacked by a dozen spirit gods of the 3-eyed divine race on the Sky Poison Island and fought in his sea of consciousness for several months. In the end, his cultivation had improved greatly. It was truly miraculous. One had to know that after an ordinary spirit god lost their physical body, their spirit god wouldn't be able to stay in the world for long before dissipating. Only some unique treasures could allow the spirit god to remain. The totem pole on the Sky Poison Island was probably such a treasure. However, there was also something strange about it. The totem poles of the other 8 forbidden lands didn't have any spirit gods attached to them. Lu Ming guessed that it was most likely related to the Sky Poison Island. There wasn't a trace of poisonous gas in the cave. Instead, it was filled with spiritual energy and origin energy. Wen Yuezhang was good with words, so he began to explain what had happened during this period. About half a month ago, the 9 forbidden lands had all been cracked and the 9 totem poles had been obtained. Only the last totem pole was left in the 3-eyed divine race's royal city. As long as they obtained the last totem pole, they would be able to open the ancient city of Karmic Luck. But at this time, the geniuses of another continent had appeared. They were the geniuses of the Bloodblade continent. As soon as the geniuses of the Bloodblade continent entered, they began a massacre. Many geniuses of the 4 overlord forces were killed. After the massacre, they knew that the geniuses of the Bloodblade continent were also participating in the Battle of Karmic Luck. They had also completed their previous mission. Their final goal was actually the last totem pole in the 3-eyed divine race's royal city. If the Blood Knife continent obtained the totem pole, they would be able to open their ancient city of Providence. Whichever side obtained the last totem pole would be able to open the ancient city of Providence. Those who did not obtain it would be considered a failure. The geniuses of the Blood Knife continent were very powerful. They were even slightly stronger than those of the Eastern Barren Territory. Most importantly, the geniuses of the Blood Knife continent were very united. They seemed to be from the same faction. On the other hand, the four overlords of the Eastern Wilderness were too scattered. Thus, they suffered a crushing defeat at the beginning. In the end, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, the Heavenly Corpse Sect, and the Sky Demon Valley had joined forces. Only then did they have the strength to contend against the Blood Blade continent. As for the Talisman Puppet Sect, they were directly excluded by the three great powers. Rejecting the Talisman Puppet Sect's participation was very obvious. They wanted to borrow the hand of the Blood Blade continent to completely destroy the Talisman Puppet Sect. The people of the Talisman Puppet Sect had been hiding under the lead of Huan Zhen and the other Zongzi candidates. But they were still found by the Blood Blade continent 2 days ago, which led to the previous battle. Sigh, it's a pity that Guan Tao, Lu Song, and the others all died in battle. Wen Yuezhang sighed. Guan Tao and Lu Song were the top 100 geniuses of the Talisman Puppet Sect on the list of top 1,000 geniuses. They were also one of the 13 Zongzi candidates. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the people of the Talisman Puppet Sect and realized that many of them were missing. Out of the 13 Zongzi candidates of the Talisman Puppet Sect, only 6 were present. 7 were missing. And there were only slightly more than 300 people of the Talisman Puppet Sect present. Are these all that's left of the Talisman Puppet Sect? Lu Ming asked. Almost. Even if some of them are still in the ruins, there are definitely not many of them. Wen Yuezhang sighed. The other disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect were also dejected. The Talisman Puppet Sect had sent a total of about 1,000 people, but now there were only about 300 of them left. It was an extremely heavy loss. One had to know that these were the elites of the younger generation of the Talisman Puppet Sect. In every battle of Providence, there would be a large number of geniuses who died in battle. However, in every battle of Providence, the various factions would send all of their geniuses into the Battle of Providence. This was because once someone obtained a great opportunity, all the sacrifices would be worth it. For example, Bai Qi Shui had obtained the martial emperor's inheritance this time. Even if a few hundred people died in battle, it would be worth it. The martial emperor's inheritance was extremely precious. Not only could it provide the Talisman Puppet Sect with many different formations and inscriptions, but Bai Qi Shui's future was limitless. Even if she couldn't reach the martial emperor's height in the future, it would be worth it as long as she could become a martial emperor. Let's leave this place first. I'm afraid that the other geniuses of the Blood Blade continent will soon know that a genius of the Blood Blade continent has been killed. When that time comes, we will be in real danger. Illusion Reality Dao. That's right. Wen Yuezhang nodded. All of you, enter the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the mountain and river diagram flew towards Lu Ming. As for the saber wheel, it had lost its master and remained motionless in the air. Lu Ming casually put it away. Illusion Reality and the others had long heard that Lu Ming had a treasure like the mountain and river diagram. They were overjoyed when they heard this. As long as they entered the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming could bring them to a place by himself. The people of the Blood Blade continent would definitely not be able to find them. Immediately, the people of the Talisman Puppet Sect were sucked into the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming put away the mountain and river diagram and turned into a beam of light, leaving this place. In a valley millions of miles away, Lu Ming appeared and released the people of the Talisman Puppet Sect. Some of the disciples who were injured began to treat their injuries. Those who weren't injured began to carve formations in the surroundings. There were only 5 days left until the 1-year deadline. They no longer planned to search for any more opportunities. They just needed to wait for the last 5 days to pass. Right now, the geniuses of the Bloodblade continent and the geniuses of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the three great forces should be near the Monarch City, waiting for an opportunity to seize the last totem pole, right? Lu Ming asked. That's right. There are still 5 days left. They will definitely make a move during these few days. Otherwise, they won't have a chance. If they don't seize the last totem pole, then the luck points they obtained during this period will be wasted. The top geniuses will definitely be unwilling to accept this. Illusion Reality nodded. Actually, the Blood Saber continent and the three-party alliance had already attacked Royal City in the past. However, there were extremely formidable existences in Royal City. They were experts that were infinitely close to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm, and they were experts that could charge into the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm at will. Last time, such an expert had made a move and forcefully advanced into the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm, and he killed a few formidable geniuses from both sides. However, in the end, that expert from the three-eyed divine race exploded apart and perished. He should have been suppressed to death by the laws of heaven and earth of this world. Wen Yuezhang explained. Lu Ming nodded. It was normal for the three-eyed god race to have such existences. The spiritual god realm experts that Lu Ming encountered on the Sky Poison Island were all old men of the three-eyed god race who were nearing the end of their lifespans. They had no choice but to take a risk and try to break through to the spiritual god realm. In the end, they were suppressed. Chapter 953. Such existences were extremely powerful, and ordinary members of the three-eyed divine race couldn't compare to them. Because anyone who could break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm was a genius among geniuses. The foundation for human cultivators to break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm was to awaken a God-grade bloodline. Without awakening a God-grade bloodline, there was a 99% chance that one could break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm. Only those who had awakened a God-grade bloodline were qualified to break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm. However, that was merely the qualification. In order to truly break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm, many who had awakened a God-grade bloodline would fail. Of course, the higher the grade of the God-grade bloodline awakened, the higher the success rate. Domain Enlightened Spirit Gods had a lifespan of 5,000 years. How many Domain Enlightened Spirit Gods had accumulated over the past 5,000 years in the Eastern Wilderness? Very few. How many of them had awakened a God-grade bloodline in this generation of young people? There were 300 on the list of top 1,000 geniuses alone, and there were also new geniuses. If those with God-grade bloodlines could break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm, then there would be hundreds of them in this generation. How could that be possible? Even if this generation was a golden age, it would be very good if there were 100 or 200 people who could break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm. Many God-grade geniuses might not be able to break through to the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm. So, it could be said that those that were capable of breaking through into the Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm were geniuses amongst geniuses, and their strengths were extremely formidable. With such existences residing in the royal clan of the Three-Eyed Divine Clan, it would absolutely not be so easy for these two powers to seize the final totem pillar. Lu Ming, are you going to fight for the last totem pole? Asked Huan Zhen. A trace of a smile appeared on the corners of Lu Ming's mouth, and he said, why not? Perhaps I'll be able to benefit from their fight. With your combat strength, you might have a chance. Unfortunately, I was injured in the previous battle, so I can't help you. Said Huan Zhen. There's no need for that. I'm just going to take a look. It's easier to hide alone. If there's a chance, I'll wait for an opportunity to make a move. If not, then forget it. Lu Ming said with a smile. Huan Zhen pondered for a moment, and then an inscription talisman scroll appeared in his hand. He handed it to Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, this is a unique inscription talisman scroll I obtained. If you activate it with your spirit fire, it will be able to form 8 people who look exactly like you. And of the same aura of the same. Maybe it will be of help. Lu of the enlightened spirit gods of spirit God. This kind of inscription talisman was very precious. It could actually condense 8 people with the same aura as oneself. This could definitely save one's life at a critical moment. This was obviously a treasure that Huan Zhen had obtained in this battle of luck. Lu Ming was very grateful that he was willing to give such a treasure to him. Huan Zhen said with a smile. He was extraordinarily handsome. This was a handsome man that could make women jealous. Then I'll go to King City. If there's anything, you can contact me at any time. Lu Ming said. He looked at Bai Qi Shui not far away and turned to leave. Lu Ming. Bai Qi Shui called out from behind. Miss Bai, don't worry. I'll be fine. Lu Ming smiled. He didn't say anything and headed towards King City. Why did he call me Miss Bai? Didn't he call me Qi Shui before? Bai Qi Shui looked at Lu Ming's departing back, lost in thought. There are rumors that Lu Ming started the Battle of Nine Dragon City because of a woman. Could that woman be Lu Ming's lover? Thinking of this, Bai Qi Shui sighed, her eyes a little sad. A beam of light cut through the sky, crossing 100 miles in an instant. Soon, Lu Ming returned to the territory of the three-eyed divine race's King City. He engraved an array formation to conceal his aura, and then continued forward. Soon, a magnificent city appeared in front of him. This was the King's City of the three-eyed divine race. On the tall and magnificent city walls, there were three-eyed divine race soldiers patrolling day and night. Last time, when 2 sides of prodigies rushed into the King's City, the three-eyed divine race's defense was even stricter. I'll wait here. I reckon that the 2 sides will attack in a few days. Lu Ming hid in a secret place, watching the King's City from afar. 1 day, 2 days, time passed day by day, but the 2 sides didn't attack. Obviously, both sides had the same idea. They were waiting for the other side to attack first so that they could reap the benefits. On the last day, both sides finally couldn't hold back and attacked almost at the same time. From the north and south of King's City, there were more than 100 beams of light that rushed towards King's City. Both sides sent out more than 100 people each. Each of them was a prodigy among prodigies, extremely powerful existences. Enemy attack. Suddenly, a shocking roar came from the three-eyed divine race's King's City. The entire King's City erupted with powerful auras. Kill! Shouts shook the heavens. More than 100 people from the north and south rushed into the King's City like a sharp knife. Every one of them was a prodigy that could kill opponents that were several levels higher than them. They were extremely powerful, especially top-notch prodigies like Luo Tian. They were extremely powerful and could easily kill those at the 9th level of the spirit embryo realm. Brilliant lights shone. Even though there were many people from the three-eyed divine race, they were all killed in an instant. The people from both sides rushed towards the center of King's City. The few people in the lead are so powerful. Lu Ming watched from afar, and his gaze froze. In the north was the allied army of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Heavenly Corpse Sect, and Sky Demon Valley. The few people in the lead were extremely powerful. When their attacks exploded, those in front of them were killed instantly. A golden-robed youth with a golden crown on his head had sword chi that soared into the sky. With a slash of his sword, those in front of him, no matter if they were at the 9th or 8th level of the spirit embryo realm, were all killed in one move. Lu Ming even found a powerful existence with a perfected spirit embryo that was killed in one move. Powerful, extremely powerful. This person's temperament is somewhat similar to Defeng's. He should be the Emperor God, the top prodigy of the younger generation of the Eastern Wilderness human tribe. He is ranked first on the list of top 1,000 talents. There was a glint in Lu Ming's eyes and a strong fighting spirit burst forth. The Emperor God was also the descendant of Martial Emperor De. However, he was terrifyingly talented. Some people said that the Emperor God's talent was not inferior to Martial Emperor De's when he was young. Beside the Emperor God, Heavenly Corpse Sect and Sky Demon Valley also had powerful prodigies. In the south, Blood Knife Continent also had prodigies who were at the same level as the Emperor God. In just a few minutes, they had broken through various obstacles and were about to kill their way to the center of King's City. "How dare you barge in? You're courting death." Suddenly, a loud roar erupted from the center of King's City. Then, a beam of light flashing with lightning struck toward the Emperor God. The Emperor God slashed out with his sword and destroyed the beam of light. However, his body was also blocked. Then, several beams of light burst out in succession, shooting toward the north and south. Blood Knife Continent and Eastern Wilderness were both under attack. "There are indeed old men like you. You block the other members of the three-eyed divine tribe. The few of us will seize the totem pole." The Emperor God's voice rang out. Then, he and the strongest prodigies of the Heavenly Demon Tribe and Heavenly Corpse sect charged forward. They seemed to have met their match. In King's City, Sword Chi soared into the sky, and saber light shattered the sky. Chapter 954. Looks like there are still people who are about to break through to the spirit god realm in the capital. Otherwise, no one could stop the Emperor and the rest. Lu Ming's gaze moved, and he revealed a smile. Since the other party was strong, it gave him a chance. Lu Ming transformed into a phantom and rushed towards the capital. First, he rushed from the north, the Emperor, and the God Palace. Along the way, he didn't meet any obstacles. The three-eyed god race was attracted to the center. Along the way, he saw many corpses of the three-eyed god race. Swallow. Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons bloodline and started to swallow crazily. Of course, he couldn't be bothered to swallow those whose levels were too low. He swallowed the corpses of the three-eyed god race that were at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm and above. The corpses of the three-eyed god race turned into dried corpses. Along the way, he swallowed more than 30 corpses at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm, a dozen at the 8th level of spirit embryo realm, 5 to 6 at the 9th level of spirit embryo realm, and even one at the perfected level of spirit embryo realm. Their blood essence and energy were extremely abundant. Since both parties are still fighting, I'll find a place to refine. Lu Ming rushed into a small room and entered the mountain river diagram to refine the energy he had swallowed. Roar! Not long after, the 9 dragons let out a long roar, and another chakra appeared on the foundation of the 5 golden chakras. Bloodline of the 6th level of the God realm. The 9 dragons' bloodline finally rose by another level, reaching the 6th level of the God realm. With the rise of the 9 dragons' bloodline, the speed of refining energy increased by several times. Rumble. In his body, the vital essence rumbled and was incomparably majestic. The spirit embryo was continuously condensed and slowly shrunk. There seemed to be a powerful existence being nurtured in the spirit embryo. After an hour, all the energy in his body was completely refined. Peak of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Previously, his cultivation was at the early stage of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. Now that he had reached the peak of the 7th level and had swallowed so many powerful three-eyed god race, Lu Ming was a little surprised that he hadn't broken through to the 8th level of spirit embryo realm. Instead, he had some breakthroughs in his conception. After exiting the mountain river diagram, there were still rumbling sounds coming from outside. It seemed that the battle was still going on. It's been more than an hour and the battle is still going on. Seems like the Emperor and the rest have met a strong opponent. I'll go take a look. Lu Ming carefully left the room and rushed towards the center of King's City. His speed was extremely fast. He retracted his aura and constantly flickered in the dark. Almost no one noticed him. In the center of King's City, there was a huge square. In the middle of the square, there was a stone pillar with various carvings on it. It was a totem pillar. Meanwhile, intense battles were taking place all around the square. A vast aura filled the air. 2 of them were extremely robust, and they were over 10 meters tall. The aura they emanated was practically at the domain enlightened spirit god realm. Monarch God and 2 other powerful youths joined forces to fight a three-eyed divine race. As for the powerful youths of the Bloodblade continent, they joined forces to fight against the Flashing Eye race. Even further away, countless three-eyed god race beings were attacking the other geniuses. The totem pole was right in front of him, but he couldn't take it. This is my chance. Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and the bones in his body changed, transforming into a different appearance. He took a step forward and charged forward. Kill! One of the three-eyed god race beings noticed him and chopped at Lu Ming with his axe. Lu Ming punched out and killed that three-eyed god race being. When the people from Monarch God Palace, Sky Corpse Sect, and Sky Demon Valley saw Lu Ming, they thought that he was one of their geniuses and naturally didn't stop him. Bam! Bam! Lu Ming killed several three-eyed god race beings and executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. His body flashed rapidly like a ray of light, passing through the battlefield and approaching the battlefield where Monarch God and the rest were fighting. He didn't stop and directly charged towards the totem pole in the center. Ant, you're courting death. The three-eyed god race being who was fighting Monarch God and the rest was extremely powerful. The third eye between his eyebrows shot out a dazzling beam of light that pierced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. His body flashed continuously and retreated 100 meters to avoid the attack. Monarch God and the rest also looked at Lu Ming. They frowned. Lu Ming's appearance was very unfamiliar, and his aura was completely restrained. Which force was he from? He actually wanted to seize the totem pole by himself? You want to seize the totem pole? Wishful thinking. The tall and sturdy three-eyed god race being roared. However, as he roared, he spat out a mouthful of blood. There seemed to be an invisible force between heaven and earth that was pressing down on him. In this world, the three-eyed god race beings can't break through to the spiritual god realm. He forcefully entered the spiritual god realm and is suppressed by the laws of heaven and earth. He's about to die. Monarch God roared and fought with all his might. These two three-eyed gods had forcefully entered the spiritual god realm and were suppressed by the laws. They couldn't unleash the strength of a spiritual god realm expert at all. Otherwise, no matter how talented Monarch God and the rest were, they wouldn't be a match for a spiritual god expert. The gap between a spiritual embryo and a spiritual god was too great. It was difficult to surpass because a spiritual god was a peerless genius. I can only use the inscription talisman. Lu Ming's gaze flickered, and the inscription talisman that Huan Zhen had given him appeared in his hand. As soon as he opened it, his spiritual energy suffused out. Om! The inscription talisman lit up, and Lu Ming's body was suddenly covered by a formation. Then, his body trembled and actually split into 12 Lu Ming. There were a total of 13 Lu Ming. Of course, once he used the inscription talisman, he returned to his original appearance. However, the 13 Lu Ming's appearance and figure were exactly the same. Even their auras were the same. This is a good chance. Charge! Lu Ming was overjoyed. With a thought, the 13 figures split up and charged towards the totem pole at extreme speed. At this moment, the three-eyed god race was stunned. Monarch God and the others were stunned as well. Lu Ming, it's him. Monarch God shouted coldly as he recognized Lu Ming. Damn it! The three-eyed god race roared, and a beam of light shot out from between his eyebrows, hitting one of the Lu Ming. That Lu Ming's figure kept flashing as he dodged the light beams. The three-eyed divine race kept shooting out light beams from their eyes. After much difficulty, they finally hit their target. That Lu Ming collapsed, but the other 12 continued to charge forward. Humph, don't even think about it. Monarch God and the others also attacked, not wanting Lu Ming to seize the totem pole. On the other hand, the Blood Knife Continent and the Three-Eyed Divine Clan who were fighting with the Blood Knife Continent also took action to stop Lu Ming. The people of the Blood Knife Continent did not want Lu Ming to seize the totem pole even more. However, they did not know which one was Lu Ming's real body, so they could only attack randomly. The remaining 12 Lu Ming's figures kept flickering, dodging the attacks and approaching the totem pole. Pang! Pang! With so many experts blocking Lu Ming, Lu Ming naturally could not dodge all of them. He was constantly hit, and his body collapsed one after another. However, in the end, there were still 2 bodies that rushed to the totem pole. Ah, damn it, no! The youth of the Blood Knife continent shouted crazily. Monarch God and the others' eyes lit up. They were not too excited. No matter what, Lu Ming was from the Eastern Wilderness. If he seized the totem pole, he could still help the Eastern Wilderness open the ancient City of Fate. As for the luck points, they could get them in the ancient City of Fate. Chapter 955. Rise! The 2 figures of Lu Ming hugged the totem pole at the same time and roared. With a boom, the totem pole was pulled out by Lu Ming. The moment Lu Ming pulled out the totem pole, a beam of light descended from the sky and landed on Lu Ming's body. The attacks from all directions were all blocked by the beam of light. At this moment, the people of the 3-eyed divine race, Di Shen, and the others did not attack Lu Ming. No! The geniuses of the Blood Knife continent roared unwillingly and attacked Lu Ming crazily. Unfortunately, no matter how they attacked, they were all blocked by the beam of light. Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, beams of light descended from the sky and enveloped the youths of the Blood Knife continent. Then, amidst their unwillingly angry roars, the light flashed and the geniuses of the Blood Knife continent all disappeared. Obviously, they had failed and were teleported out. Boom! At this moment, the totem pole in Lu Ming's hand trembled violently and flickered with light before flying into the sky. Then, Lu Ming realized that the other totem pole in his storage ring had also flown out of his storage ring and into the sky. As for Di Shen and the others, totem poles also flew out of their storage rings. The most shocking one was Di Shen. 2 totem poles flew out of his storage ring at the same time. Millions of miles away from Royal City, a fatty was carrying a huge axe. Beside him was a beautiful girl. The 2 of them were casually walking in the sky. It was Fatty Kong Jin and Wan Tingting. Suddenly, Fatty's expression changed. A totem pole flew out of his storage ring. The totem pole glowed and pierced through space, flying into the distance. In the next moment, Fatty finally reacted and let out a shrill scream, my totem pole. It was not easy for him to obtain a totem pole, but it had flown away on its own. He quickly flew in the direction of the totem pole. Rumble! The sky above Royal City trembled non-stop as totem poles gathered one by one. Soon, all 10 totem poles had gathered and formed a strange arrangement in the sky. At this moment, the battle in Royal City stopped. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the sky. Boom! The totem poles gathered together and emitted a bright light that soared into the sky. The space was hit by the light, and a huge hole was torn open. From inside, one could see a huge ancient city. In the eastern wilderness, the upper echelons of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, the Heavenly Corpse Sect, the Sky Demon Valley, and the Talisman Puppets Sect all gathered at their respective ancient teleportation grounds. This was the entrance to the Battle of Providence. The Talisman Puppets Sect, by Shijin, Du Songjue, and other high-ranking doyens, as well as some powerful elders, were all gathered near the ancient stone in the area. It's almost a year's time. I wonder if the ancient City of Destiny will open this time. Du Songjue let out a long sigh. It wasn't easy to open the ancient City of Providence. Most of the previous wars of Providence failed to open it. The number of times it could be opened was limited. Hopefully, it can be opened. However, I'm afraid that the disciples of my Talisman Puppet Sect will be in danger as well. Bai Shijin also sighed. The other doyens also sighed. They were also conflicted. After the ancient City of Destiny opened, they would enter the final battle. This was an opportunity for the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect, but it was also very dangerous. Without strength, they would only be killed by others. At the same time, they thought of Lu Ming. Their goal for Lu Ming was to rank first on the list of top 1,000 talents. However, they also knew that it was too difficult to rank first on the list of top 1,000 talents. Most importantly, Lu Ming had too little time. Before participating in the Battle of Providence, Lu Ming's combat strength could at most compete with the top 100 geniuses. However, the top 100 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents were each more powerful than the last. It was too difficult for Lu Ming to catch up with those geniuses in just a year. After all, if he improved, those geniuses would also improve. They didn't have much hope in their hearts. Time passed slowly. Suddenly, the stone shook and emitted a bright light. It's open. The teleportation formation is open. This means that the ancient city of destiny is open. Bai Shijin and the others were overjoyed. Let's go in and enter the ancient city of destiny. Du Songjue shouted. Everyone stepped out and walked into the teleportation formation. At the same time, in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Heavenly Corpse Sect, and Sky Monster Valley, an ancient stone also emitted light. The higher-ups of the three sects stepped into the teleportation formation and disappeared. In the eastern wilderness, above a barren mountain, there was an earth-shattering roar in the endless void. Wind and clouds gathered, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. Suddenly, the endless void cracked open and a huge space crack appeared. Then, an ancient city emerged from it. This ancient city was more than 10,000 miles long and wide. In the middle of the ancient city, there was a huge fighting ring made of a strange metal with strange patterns on it. Around the fighting ring were rows of seats in a circle. There were many rows of seats, like a coliseum. Sitting on the seats, one could watch everything that was happening on the fighting ring from above. On the north side of the fighting ring, there was no spectator stand. Instead, there was a long staircase that extended from below to the fighting ring. Suddenly, 4 black vortexes appeared in the sky above the spectator stand, and figures emerged from them. In one of the vortexes, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the other founding elders of the Talisman Puppet Sect appeared. On the right side of the Talisman Puppet Sect, there were figures with corpse chi and ghost chi. They were the higher-ups of the Heavenly Corpse Sect, and they were all powerful existences. Among them, there was a tall figure that was shrouded in corpse chi. It was impossible to see his appearance clearly. His aura was not strong, but it gave people a huge pressure. The Corpse Emperor of the Heavenly Corpse Sect. Seeing this figure, Bai Shijin and the others narrowed their eyes and became solemn. The Corpse Emperor of the Heavenly Corpse Sect was an Emperor Realm expert, and he was as famous as Emperor De. This time, even the Corpse Emperor had appeared. It was clear how much importance they attached to this battle of Providence. Fortunately, the ancient city of destiny had a huge suppressive force, just like the entrance of the battle of destiny. The older one was, the stronger the suppressive force. Even an Emperor Realm expert would be greatly suppressed here, and he would not be able to display much of his combat strength. Therefore, they were not too worried. If they were outside, the Corpse Emperor alone could kill them all. On the right side of the Heavenly Corpse Sect, another group of people appeared. They were the people of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. The patriarchs of the 6 ancient clans were among them. There were also a few people who had a powerful aura. They were obviously people on the same level as the patriarchs of the 6 ancient clans. The patriarchs of the 6 ancient clans were not the only ones in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. However, Bai Shijin and the others ignored them and looked at a middle-aged man in a purple gold robe. Emperor De. Bai Shijin and the others were shocked. Chapter 956. Martial Emperor De was famous in the Eastern Barren region. He had created the De Tian Divine Palace and made it the strongest human force in the Eastern Barren region. He was very famous and powerful. Some people called Martial Emperor De the strongest martial emperor in the Eastern Barren region. Even the Corpse Emperor was weaker than him. Moreover, Bai Shijin and the others knew that De had killed Liao Cong. They hated and feared Martial Emperor De. When Martial Emperor De appeared, he looked at the Talisman Puppet Sect like 2 sharp swords. Although Martial Emperor De was suppressed here, he still gave off a great pressure. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, Meng Chong and the others' faces changed. They felt like a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts. Only one person looked at Martial Emperor De calmly. Yan Kuangtu. Yan Kuangtu had also entered with the people of the Talisman Puppet sect. Yan Kuangtu's forehead flashed and Nine Suns' sovereign walked out. After a year, Nine Suns' sovereign's soul was much more condensed than before. It was almost materialized. His soul was strong and his soul was stable. He looked at Martial Emperor De. Martial Emperor De's eyes emitted a bright light and a strong murderous intent. Although he did not say anything, it was clear. Do you think hiding in the Talisman Puppet sect is useful? The Wang clan leader looked at Yan Kuangtu and the others and said coldly, your Talisman Puppet sect will be destroyed because of this sooner or later. I wonder how many people from the Talisman Puppet sect will come to the ancient city of fortune in this battle of fortune. Don't let them all die. The Jiang clan leader said coldly. Don't worry, the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect will have their own opportunities. Bai Shijin said in a deep voice. It's useless to be stubborn. Soon, you will see the reality. The Wang clan leader said coldly. This time, Bai Shijin and the others did not reply. It was useless to say more. I don't know what you are thinking. You have two powerful disciples and grand disciples, but you don't want them. I'm jealous. At this moment, a voice came from another direction. It was a woman's voice, but it was charming. It made people's heartbeat quicken and their hearts tremble. Everyone looked at the source of the voice. Over there, demonic aura surged into the sky. The demons of the Sky Demon Valley had arrived. Among them was a woman who looked to be around 30 years old. She was wearing a thin veil that revealed her devilish figure. Her appearance was so beautiful that it could turn the world upside down. Any man who saw her couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. Her every move, every frown, and every smile was filled with endless temptation. Demon Emperor. Central's heart trembled. The Demon Emperor of the Sky Demon Valley was said to be a nine-tailed fox, a pure-blooded nine-tailed fox. The pure-blooded nine-tailed fox was a divine beast. Although it wasn't particularly strong among the divine beasts, it was still extremely terrifying. Today, the three supreme existences of the Eastern Barren Territory, Emperor De, the Demon Emperor and the Corpse Emperor, had all arrived. It was a grand occasion that was rarely seen in 1,000 years. The number of sovereigns in the Eastern Wilderness could be counted with one's fingers. Every one of them was a supreme existence. There was no doubt that Emperor De, the Demon Emperor and the Corpse Emperor were the strongest existences among the sovereigns. Even though the Demon Sky Emperor was also an emperor, he was weaker than the three of them. Back then, the Demon Sky Emperor had only stopped Emperor De's clone. Now, it was obvious that Emperor De's real body had returned from the ocean. In comparison, the Talisman Puppet sect was too weak. Just a pair of evil disciples. Don't laugh at me, Demon Emperor. Emperor De said coldly. Are they really evil disciples? Why didn't I hear the rumors say so? De, you took the bloodline of the 9 suns and the blood essence of the 9 dragons. What do you want to do? I'm very curious. The Demon Emperor smiled slightly. His smile made many people's hearts beat faster. They were shocked and quickly looked away. They didn't dare to look at the Demon Emperor anymore. This was because the people present had high cultivation and had cultivated for many years. The weakest among them was an expert of the spiritual god realm. If those young people saw this, they would probably lose their minds and be unable to extricate themselves. Emperor De's eyes flashed and he didn't answer. The Demon Emperor looked at De and smiled. No one knew what he was thinking. Then, the place fell into silence. Everyone's eyes fell on the stairs. In the three-eyed divine tribe's monarch city, everyone looked at the sky and the huge thing that had appeared. Is that the ancient city of fortune? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Buzz! Suddenly, pillars of light appeared from the ancient city of fortune and landed on the young geniuses who were participating in the battle of fortune. At this moment, no matter where they were, no matter which relic they were in or which forbidden area they were in, as long as they were not dead, a pillar of light descended from the sky and enveloped them. Then, the space trembled and they disappeared. In the monarch city, the geniuses disappeared without a trace. It was the same for Lu Ming. As the light pillar vibrated, his figure disappeared from sight. In the next moment, Lu Ming found himself on a huge platform. Light flickered around him and figures kept appearing. Lu Ming saw the arch-god and the other elites of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, the Heavenly Corpse Sect, the Sky Demon Valley, and the Talisman Puppet Sect. Huan Zhen, Wen Yuezhang, Bai Qi, Shui, and the others were all there. When they saw Lu Ming, they all smiled and walked over. The geniuses of the four overlord forces gathered together according to their forces. Lu Ming, are you okay? Huan Zhen walked over and asked. I'm fine. This time, I really have to thank you for the inscription scroll. Lu Ming smiled at Huan Zhen. Without Huan Zhen's inscription scroll, Lu Ming might not be able to seize the last totem pole even if he used all his strength. If he used all his strength, others would definitely stop him. How could he seize the totem pole? He used the inscription scroll to catch them off guard and seize the totem pole. Oh? Huan Zhen's eyes lit up. Lu Ming said so. Did he succeed? Lu Ming. Lu Ming. When Yuezhang, Bai Qi, Shui, and the others all came over to greet Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and responded to them one by one. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, I knew you would be fine. With a loud laugh, Fatty walked over with his axe. Ruan Tingting walked side by side with Fatty. Fatty, Tingting. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Since the beginning of the Battle of Providence, Lu Ming had not met Fatty and Ruan Tingting. To be honest, he was quite worried that something would happen to them. Now that he saw them, he was naturally happy. Lu Ming, Tingting was worried that something would happen to you. I knew it. How can those trash do anything to you? Fatty grinned and glanced at Emperor God Palace and Sky Monster Valley with disdain. Before entering the Battle of Providence, these two forces wanted to kill Lu Ming without mercy. Chapter 957. This was especially so for the Arch-God and the other strongest geniuses. They had seen how Lu Ming had taken the last totem pole by surprise in the monarch city. Humph, he relied on treasures to take people by surprise. He better not meet me in the battle for Providence later. Otherwise, I will definitely kill him. Luo Tian said coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he glared at Lu Ming. That's right, I will definitely kill him too. Someone else also said coldly. The arch-god did not say anything, but his eyes were also very cold. At this point, the battle for Providence had not ended. There was still the second stage, the battle for Providence. The Providence that had been seized previously might not be preserved. Lu Ming smiled faintly, not bothering with these people's gazes. Let's go up the stairs and head to the platform. Someone spoke up and stepped forward. There was a huge staircase in front of the platform that led all the way up. Some people had already started to step up. Following which, the various forces stepped forward one after another. Actually, there were not many people left even if all the forces were added together. The Talisman Puppet Sect had more than 1,000 people who had participated in the battle for Providence. Now, there were less than 400 people left. The Arch-God Palace had nearly 10,000 people who had participated in the battle for Providence, including the men of sacrifice. Now, there were only about 2,000 people left. It could be said that they had suffered heavy casualties. The Heavenly Corpse Sect had less than 2,000 people left. The Heavenly Demon Valley was slightly better, with nearly 2,000 people left. Of course, the remaining people had more or less obtained some fortuitous encounters. Some even obtained great fortuitous encounters. As long as they survived, their future was limitless. Everyone stepped onto the stairs, but Lu Ming immediately saw a strange phenomenon. For example, The remaining men of sacrifice of the Heavenly Corpse sect and of the Arch-God Palace were climbing the stairs very quickly. Their bodies were light, but the famous geniuses were much slower. It was as if they were carrying a huge mountain on their backs. Step by step, it was very difficult. It is said that the more providence one obtains, the greater the pressure one will feel when walking up the stairs. It will be more difficult to walk, said the illusion and reality Tao at the side. Lu Ming suddenly understood. No wonder. These men of sacrifice were in charge of exploring dangerous places. If there were treasures, they would naturally be taken by the geniuses. These men of sacrifice did not have much luck points, so they naturally moved very quickly. On top of the stairs, around the battle stage were the higher-ups of the four major forces. At that moment, they were staring at the stairs without blinking. Someone's coming. Suddenly, someone shouted. Many people's eyes lit up. A young man in a blood-red robe with a dull look in his eyes was a man of sacrifice from the Heavenly Corpse sect. He walked up the stairs and stepped into the fighting ring. When he stepped onto the battle platform, the Book of Fate appeared before him. The Book of Fate turned into a small worm and appeared above the young man's head. However, the next moment, the worm collapsed and a beam of light appeared above the young man's head. With a flash, the young man was transported away and appeared in a seat in the Heavenly Corpse sect's area. No one was surprised at all. In the first stage of the Battle of Providence, the map was constantly changing, but in the second stage, the ancient city of Providence was the same every time. This man of sacrifice from the Heavenly Corpse sect obviously did not have enough luck points and had been eliminated early. If one wanted to qualify for the next round of the Battle of Providence, they had to obtain a certain amount of luck points. If their luck points did not meet the standard, all the luck points they had obtained before would disappear and be wasted. They would be transported to the spectator stands and eliminated early. This was the same every Battle of Providence. Next, more and more people walked up. However, those who walked up at the beginning were those who had obtained very little luck points. Their books of fate turned into small worms, collapsed, and were transported away. The number of people in the spectator stands gradually increased. At first, most of them were men of sacrifice. Then, it was some young geniuses and geniuses. Someone's book of fate condensed into a small snake. It was many times larger than the previous worm, but it still collapsed and was eliminated early. As many as thousands of people were eliminated. Suddenly, there was a flash of light. A young man in a green robe had his book of fate collapsed and turned into a giant python. The giant python roared majestically. It was many times stronger than the previous worms and snakes. Moreover, the giant python did not collapse. It circled above his head, and he was not transported to the spectator stands. He remained in the fighting ring. The Python of Fate. Only those with more than 3,000 luck points can transform their luck into a python. Only then are they qualified to retain their luck and enter the Battle of Providence. An elder in the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace said. The young man was ecstatic. If Lu Ming were here, he would definitely recognize this young man. He was Qin Qing Shan, ranked 999th on the list of top 1,000 talents. He had barely qualified for the next round. The next young men who walked up were all able to transform their luck into pythons. The giant pythons circled above their heads. It was a spectacular sight. In the end, more than 1,000 people were able to transform their luck into pythons. Roar! Suddenly, a roar reverberated throughout the entire arena, attracting everyone's attention. A 3-meter-long flood dragon condensed above a young man's head. It was even more majestic and powerful than the giant pythons. The Python of Fate. Only those with more than 10,000 luck points could transform their luck into a python. Between 3,000 and 10,000 luck points could transform one's luck into a python. Between 10,000 and 100,000 luck points could transform one's luck into a python. Above 100,000 luck points could transform one's luck into a dragon. Depending on the number of luck points one had, the length of the true dragon would also be different. Starting from this young man, the stage of transforming his luck into a python began. Humph, Talisman Puppet Sect, I didn't expect so many of your disciples to still be alive. The Wang family head looked at the Talisman Puppet Sect and sneered. Now that there were quite a number of Talisman Puppet Sect disciples, Bai Shijin and the rest were slightly relieved. I've said that the Talisman Puppet Sect disciples have their own opportunities. How could they die so easily? But it seems like you've lost quite a few people. Bai Shijin sneered. Hee, the main thing is to see how many of your Talisman Puppet Sect's so-called peerless geniuses can stay. The Wang family head sneered. Those who could transform their luck into a python were definitely the cream of the crop. This was because the young man who had transformed his luck into a python was a god-grade supreme talent. The supreme talents who came up later were the core of each sect. Heavens, why is it so heavy? At this moment, Lu Ming had also stepped onto the stairs. However, he felt as if a few hundred mountains were pressing down on him. It was simply difficult to move forward. Every step took a lot of effort. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and climbed up with difficulty. On the stairs, Lu Ming saw that the Emperor God, Shuejiani of the Heavenly Corpse sect, and a burly young man of the Sky Demon Valley were also walking very slowly. Their bodies were slightly trembling as they slowly moved forward. The fatty was also very slow, but relatively speaking, he was much faster than Lu Ming. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, why are you so slow? I've finally surpassed you. The fatty grinned happily. His fat jiggled as he walked forward step by step, walking in front of the Emperor God and the rest. Similarly, there was another person who was also very slow. That was Bai Qi Shui. However, her speed was slightly faster than the fatty. In addition, Huanzhen also fell behind Bai Qi Shui. Chapter 958. Slowly, the number of people on the stairs decreased. Around the stage, the upper echelons of the various factions were still staring at the stairs. At this moment, there were close to 300 people on the stage who could transform their luck into a dragon. The 300 dragons were of different lengths. The shortest one was 10 feet long while the longest was 99 feet long. At this moment, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others' faces were getting worse. Only a few of the 13 Zongzi candidates had come up. The Wang family head's face was also ugly. He didn't see Wang Chong and Wang Chen. These people should have appeared in the crowd of people who could transform their luck into a dragon. It couldn't be that so many people could transform their luck into a dragon, right? In history, there were very few people who could transform their luck into a dragon. They were all monsters among monsters. Qi Shui, Lu Ming. Bai Shijin's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ming and Bai Qi Shui didn't appear. Lu Ming might be able to transform his luck into a dragon, but Qi Shui, Bai Shijin was sad. He knew that with Bai Qi Shui's cultivation, it was almost impossible for her to obtain such a high amount of luck unless she had a heaven-defying opportunity. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon's roar shook the surroundings and interrupted Bai Shijin's thoughts. Bai Shijin hurriedly looked over and was immediately overjoyed. Bai Qi Shui, he saw Bai Qi Shui. At this moment, a 5-clawed dragon appeared above Bai Qi Shui's head. It was about 10 feet long and it suppressed all the pythons and dragons. Luck transforming into a dragon. Bai Qi Shui's luck could transform into a dragon. This was completely out of Bai Shijin's expectations. The other eminent elders of the Talisman Puppet sect were also overjoyed. Bai Qi Shui had obviously obtained a great opportunity. Without cultivation, what's the use of obtaining so many luck points? You'll have to spit them out later. Seeing that the two top prodigies of the Wang family didn't appear, the Wang family head was in a bad mood and he sneered. Bai Shijin and the others' faces changed. That's right, in a while, there will be a fight. Bai Qi Shui has a lot of luck points, but her cultivation is not strong. She will definitely be targeted by many people. As expected, the surrounding geniuses all stared at Bai Qi Shui with unfriendly gazes. When they discovered that Bai Qi Shui's cultivation base was indeed not high, all of their eyes burned with passion. Roar! At that moment, another prodigy stepped forward. Similarly, a true dragon appeared above his head as his fate transformed into a dragon. It's Nangong Bo! Someone shouted. Huh, Bo is not bad. Nangong family head smiled. No one was surprised that Nangong Bo was ranked 32nd on the list of top 1,000 talents. The true dragon formed by Nangong Bo's luck was about the same length as Bai Chi's snow dragon, about 30 meters long. Next, those who ascended the stairs were all dragons of destiny. Most of them ranked above Nangong Bo on the list of top 1,000 talents. Of course, there were some who were special. There were also some who were ranked below Nangong Bo, but they were very few. There were even those who had not made it onto the list of top 1,000 talents. For example, the Heavenly Corpse Sect's Corpse King. There were also the Sky Monster Valley's prodigies. Those who could transform their luck into dragons were all monsters among monsters. They were extremely powerful. There were very few people like Bai Chi Xue, who had obtained great opportunities and accumulated luck points. Ru Kong. Soon, Bai Shijing, Du Songjue, and the others were overjoyed to see another prodigy from the Talisman Puppet sect transform his luck into a dragon. Ru Kong was ranked second only to Huan Zhen in the Talisman Puppet sect. The true dragon above his head was 15 meters long. 10,000 was 10 meters, which meant that Ru Kong had obtained about 150,000 luck points. As for Wen Yuezhang and the others, they were only dragons of destiny. It seems that Guan Tao, Lu Song, and the others have all died. Bai Shijing, Du Songjue, and the others sighed. Ru Kong had appeared, and now there was Huan Zhen. Of course, there was also Lu Ming. But could Lu Ming really transform his luck into a dragon? He had not appeared yet. Everyone was unsure and worried. However, Yan Kuangtu and Supreme Nine Yang were very calm. As for the three sovereigns, they did not say a word and just watched quietly. This was especially true for the demonic beast emperor. A layer of colorful light emanated from her body and enveloped her. Otherwise, with her allure that could turn all living things upside down, many young people would probably go crazy just by looking at her. Bam! Another young man stepped onto the fighting ring with heavy footsteps. Demon Lord Luo Tian. Someone exclaimed. Finally, someone in the top 10 of the list of top 1,000 talents had appeared. As soon as Luo Tian appeared, the Book of Destiny transformed into a true dragon that was 16 meters long. Next, a few more people stepped onto the stage. They were all in the top 10 of the list of top 1,000 talents. One of them was even a new prodigy, which shocked everyone. Every one of them had a dragon of destiny that was greater than Luo Tian's, and one of them even had a dragon of 20 meters long. Bam! A fat figure stepped onto the fighting ring. It's him. Many people were shocked. Most people in the Emperor Sky Divine Palace knew this fat man. He was the disciple of the demonic Sky Divine Emperor and had a good relationship with Lu Ming. Roar! A dragon roared as a 25-meter-long true dragon condensed above the fat man's head, suppressing the true dragons of Luo Tian and the others. This caused many people to be incomparably shocked. This fatty had actually accumulated so many luck points. However, some people felt better when they remembered that the fat man was the disciple of an emperor. How many people in the eastern wilderness could be accepted as disciples by an emperor? It was normal for some people to be special. After the fat man, those who stepped onto the stage were all over 25 meters long. Bam! A young man with purple flames all over his body stepped onto the fighting ring. Wang Fenchen. The Wang family head's eyes lit up when he saw this young man. Everyone's eyes were focused on this young man. Wang Fenchen of the Wang family was ranked 5th on the list of top 1,000 talents. He was also the only one in the Wang family who was in the top 10. He was extremely powerful. The true dragon above Wang Fenchen's head was 30 meters long. Immediately after Wang Fenchen, a very elegant young man stepped onto the fighting ring. The true dragon above his head was 31 meters long. It was 10 meters longer than Wang Fenchen. Dongfang Yu. A name popped up in everyone's mind. She was a peerless genius of the ancient Dongfang family and ranked third on the list of top 1,000 talents. Then, a beautiful woman stepped out. She was a genius of the demon clan, and her luck dragon was even longer than Dongfang Yu's. Bam! Bam! More people stepped onto the fighting ring. Some people recognized that they were the geniuses of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Clang! A blood-red sword chi shot out as a scarlet-robed young man stepped onto the fighting ring. The luck dragon on his body had reached an astonishing 40 meters long. Xue Jiani was the strongest among the younger generation of the Heavenly Corpse sect and ranked second on the list of top 1,000 talents. Since Xue Jiani has appeared, I think only Dishin and AO2 from the Sky Monster Valley are left. That's right. AO2 from the Sky Monster Valley is a rare genius among the Flood Dragons. He can compete with Dishin. I wonder who will get more luck points this time. I think it will be Dishin. Although AO2 is strong, he's still weaker than Dishin. Look, someone is coming up. Chapter 959. A muscular young man who was more than 2 meters tall stepped into the fighting ring. The fighting ring rumbled as a true dragon appeared above his head and roared. 460 feet. He was AO2 from Sky Monster Valley. His luck dragon was 460 feet long, which was 60 feet longer than Xue Jiani's. However, since he had come up earlier, everyone knew that the sovereign god had probably obtained more luck points. AO2 turned around and looked at the stairs, his eyes shining. Bang! Bang! At the top of the stairs, there was a rumbling sound. Soon, a handsome face appeared. It was Dishin. Dishin took slow steps, as if they were extremely heavy. Bang! Finally, he took a step forward and a true dragon appeared above his head. 560 feet, 560 feet long. Gosh, no wonder the Emperor God is ranked first on the list of top 1,000 talents. His Dragon of Providence, which is 560 feet long, overpowered the rest and took first place. Yes, it's already 560 feet long. When the Battle of Luck starts, it will have a chance to reach 1,000 feet long. Exclamations came from all around. Ha, congratulations, Your Majesty. Dishin is just like Your Majesty when you were young. Maybe there will be another martial royal realm expert in our Emperor Divine Palace. Congratulations. The head of the Wang family congratulated Martial Emperor De. Yes, Brother Wang is right. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Patriarch Jiang and the others also congratulated Emperor De. Lu Ming. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others cried out in sorrow. Even the Emperor God had appeared. There should be no one behind him. Could it be that Lu Ming had already died? Even Yan Kuangtu and Supreme Nine's sons were a little shaken, and their eyes dimmed. Compared to the top 10 on the list of top 1,000 talents, Lu Ming was still too weak. Was this the end? However, they did not notice that Dishin, AO2, Xue Jiani, and the others were still looking at the stairs. The sovereigns also stared at the stairs, as if they could sense something. At this time, the others also noticed something strange and looked at the stairs. Was there someone else? How could this be? Monarch God, AO2, and Xue Jiani had all appeared. Was there someone else who had yet to ascend? Impossible, who could obtain more luck points than the Monarch God? Unless someone deliberately stayed on the stairs and waited until the end to come up to attract attention. It wasn't like there weren't such people in history. However, the crowd couldn't help but stare at it curiously. Bang! A slight vibration could be heard. There was really someone. The eyes of Bai Shijin, Yan Kuangtu, and the others lit up. If there were still people, then there was still hope. Bang! Bang! At first, it was very soft, but slowly, it became louder and clearer. In the end, it was as if there was an earthquake. Every explosion sounded like a mountain smashing into the ground. Finally, a handsome face appeared in front of everyone. It's Lu Ming. The eyes of Bai Shijin, Yan Kuangtu, and the others suddenly lit up, emitting a bright light. Lu Ming, it's him. It's actually him. He's the last one. How is this possible? I think he's pretending to be the last one to ascend. In fact, he didn't obtain much luck points. It's impossible for him to have more luck points than the monarch god. It must be so. It's already good enough that he can transform his luck into a dragon. There was a burst of discussion around. At this time, Lu Ming was trembling all over and gasping for breath. My nest, why is it so heavy? It's too heavy. Lu Ming cursed in his heart. He felt like he was carrying hundreds of mountains on his back as he climbed the stairs. He was half dead tired. He was envious of the others who were as light as a swallow. Bang! Finally, he stepped onto the battle platform. The entire platform rumbled violently. When Lu Ming stepped onto the platform, his body suddenly became lighter and all the pressure disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the Book of Luck appeared and collapsed. A luck dragon appeared above Lu Ming's head. Roar! Dragon roars reverberated as a mighty and extraordinary true dragon coiled up, looking awe-inspiring. More importantly, the true dragon was 80 feet long. Yes, 80 feet. The scene was silent. Everyone was stunned as they stared blankly at the young man on the platform and the true dragon that was 80 feet long. 80 feet, how was that possible? How could Lu Ming obtain such a terrifying amount of luck points? Even Yan Kuangtu, Supreme Nine Sons, Bai Shijin, and the supremes of the other major forces were stunned. 80 feet, how is that possible? Lu Ming, that little bastard, how could he obtain such a high amount of luck points? How is that possible? The Wang family head was the first to cry out in disbelief. He was a supremes and had a stable state of mind. He could remain calm in the face of any major event. However, this matter was so shocking that he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Could it be that his strength has improved to such a level in the battle of luck? The amount of luck points he obtained has reached 80 feet. The Jiang family head was also shocked. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, well done. I knew this kid could do it. Yan Kuangtu was stunned for a moment and then laughed. Supreme Nine Sons' eyes flickered with joy. Meanwhile, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the other upper echelons of the Talisman Puppet sect were overjoyed. This was truly beyond their expectations. Although they had given Lu Ming the first place in the Battle of Luck, they knew that the condition was too high. They had raised the condition on purpose to put pressure on Lu Ming. In their hearts, it was fine as long as Lu Ming could come in the top 10. To their surprise, Lu Ming actually came in first. Although there was still the Battle of Luck to come. At this moment, Lu Ming had become the focus of the crowd. Everyone's gaze was fixed on him. Roar! Above his head, the 80 feet true dragon of luck roared into the sky, looking down at the other dragons of luck, the serpent of luck, and the giant serpents. Even the monarch god's true dragon of luck was a lot shorter than Lu Ming's. It's just that we attracted the opponent's experts in the end and then relied on the treasure to launch a surprise attack. All this luck will belong to me in the end. I will make you spit it all out. At this moment, the monarch god spoke coldly. That's right, the guy who hides in the dark and takes advantage of others is just relying on treasures and surprise. How can you get so many luck points with your true ability? Demon Lord Luo Tian also sneered, full of disdain. They all thought that Lu Ming had obtained so many luck points because he had obtained the totem pole in the end. Chapter 960. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He knew that although the last totem pole had given him a lot of luck points, it wasn't that much. The last totem pole gave him about 200,000 luck points, which was about the same as the totem pole on Sky Poison Island. The reason why he had about 800,000 luck points was that he had killed more than a dozen talents from the Blood Saber continent. Among the talents from the Blood Saber continent, 2 of them were equivalent to the top 10 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Each of them had contributed more than 100,000 luck points to him. Together with the luck points from the others and the previous ones, Lu Ming had obtained 800,000 luck points. But the Emperor God, Luo Tian, Wang Fenshen, and the others didn't know. They thought that the last totem pole must have rewarded a huge amount of luck points, which was why Lu Ming had so many luck points. The others suddenly understood. I see. I was wondering how Lu Ming could get so many luck points. It turns out that he used despicable means to get them. The Wang family head sneered. What's the point of getting them like that? He won't be able to protect himself in the battle of luck. Countless people will be watching him. His luck points will be taken away. The Jiang family head sneered. True enough, at this moment, many pairs of eyes were staring at Lu Ming with burning desire. There was a look of greed in them. The top 10, 20, and even the top 30 on the list of top 1,000 talents, including the rising talents and the talents from the Sky Demon Valley, were all looking at Lu Ming eagerly. It was as if Lu Ming was a big piece of meat that everyone wanted to take a bite out of. 800,000 luck points. If he defeated or even killed Lu Ming, how many luck points could he obtain? Their hearts were thumping wildly. The Emperor God, AO2, and the others also had a lot of luck points, but none of them dared to have any ideas. Wasn't it courting death to try and get the attention of Dishen and the others? However, Lu Ming merely relied on luck and treasures to obtain so many luck points. If that was not a fat piece of meat, then what was? Only a few people looked serious. For example, Brother Li Tian and Nangong Bo. They had all fought Lu Ming before and knew how powerful Lu Ming was. This was especially true for Nangong Bo. Even he had lost to Lu Ming. After that, nearly half a year had passed. Lu Ming must have become even stronger. This piece of fatty meat might not be tasty. However, the matter of Nangong Bo losing to Lu Ming was not spread out. Almost no one knew about it. So besides the members of the Talisman Puppet sect, there were very few people that knew of Lu Ming's combat strength. The corners of the mouths of many people from the Talisman Puppet sect curled up into cold smiles. They had seen how powerful Lu Ming was. He had easily killed several geniuses from the Blood Knife continent who were comparable to the top 10 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Lu Ming was not a piece of meat, but a knife that could kill. What kind of expression would they have when they saw Lu Ming's battle prowess? Many Talisman Puppet sect disciples revealed expressions of anticipation. However, deep down, they were still a little worried. Although Lu Ming was strong, he was still a threat to Dishen, AO2, and Shuejiani. After Lu Ming stepped onto the stage, there was no one else behind him. The number of people who were qualified to participate in the battle for Providence had also been determined. About 1,000 people could transform their Providence into a python. About 300 people could transform their Providence into a python. Only about 60 people could transform their Providence into a dragon. These 60 people included the geniuses from the Sky Monster Valley and the rising geniuses. Therefore, only the top 30 geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents could achieve this. Of course, there were exceptions. Some of the lower-ranked geniuses could achieve this, while some of the top 30 did not. Buzz! At this moment, the fighting ring vibrated slightly and glowed. The fighting ring is turning into a battlefield. Let's go to the spectator stands first. Someone shouted and flew to the spectator stands. The geniuses on the fighting ring flashed and flew to the surrounding fighting rings, landing in their respective areas. In an instant, there was no one left on the fighting ring. Buzz! The fighting ring glowed and suddenly, 8 semicircular light shields like bubbles appeared, dividing the fighting ring into 8 parts. Mountains and rivers slowly appeared in the light shields, as if a world was evolving. Everyone was well aware of this point. Later, the fighting ring would evolve into 8 different areas, forming 8 battlefields. All the geniuses who had transformed their Providence into pythons would be automatically divided into 8 groups and enter the 8 battlefields to compete. As long as they defeated their opponents, they would obtain 50% of their opponent's providence. Those who lost would be eliminated and sent out. In the end, they would keep half of their providence. Once they killed their opponents, they would obtain all of their opponent's providence. However, their opponents could also admit defeat, but once they did, they would lose 90% of their providence and only 10% would be left. It could be said that the weaker ones were destined to lose their providence to the stronger ones. However, it was not completely hopeless. The battle for providence lasted for an hour. As long as one could survive an hour, they would be able to keep all of their providence when the battle for providence ended. In the end, the person with the strongest providence in each battlefield would be able to advance. In the last 8 battlefields, the 8 people with the strongest providence would be selected for the final battle to continue competing for each other's providence. That was why so many people were staring at Lu Ming fervently. In their opinion, Lu Ming was a piece of juicy meat. Everyone watched quietly. It would take some time for the battlefields to evolve. At this time, Lu Ming quietly came to Bai Shijin's side. "Senior Bai, I have a favor to ask of you." Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bai Shijin. "What is it? Just say it." Bai Shijin also transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. "I obtained a treasure in the Battle of Providence. It's called the Mountain River Diagram." Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bai Shijin. After that, the mountain river painting appeared in his hand and he handed it to Bai Shijin. "There's actually such a wonderful treasure. Don't worry, I'll get it done for you. It won't take much time." Bai Shijin took the mountain river painting and then retreated silently. In a flash, he disappeared into the teleportation vortex and left the place. Almost no one noticed him. At this time, everyone's attention was on the fighting ring below. Time passed slowly. A few minutes later, the 8 areas covered by the light barrier were completed, forming 8 worlds. 8 different worlds. Some were mountains and forests, some were deserts, some were rocks, some were swamps. The 8 light shields each had a diameter of about 10 miles. Therefore, from the outside, the mountains and forests looked very small, like miniature figures. But many people knew that this was the battlefield of 100,000 miles. Each battlefield was 100,000 miles long and wide. The area was not small. Buzz! The light shields shone and the battlefields were completed. A number appeared on the light shields of each battlefield. They were 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 8 represented 8 battlefields. At this time, light beams shot out from the 8 battlefields and fell on the young people who were going to participate in the battle for providence. Chapter 961. A number appeared above everyone's head, representing the number of the battlefield they would enter. The number above Lu Ming's head was 8, which meant that Lu Ming would enter the 8th battlefield. Lu Ming glanced around and found that some disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect also had the number 8. Bai Qi Shui was also on the 8th battlefield. The Fatty was on the 2nd battlefield, Huan Tingting was on the 3rd battlefield and Huan Zhen was on the 4th battlefield. "Ha, Lu Ming, you're also on the 8th battlefield, and that chick." Suddenly, a burst of excited laughter was heard. Lu Ming looked towards the source of the laughter and found that it was actually Luo Tian. The number above his head was also on the 8th battlefield. His eyes were cold and fiery as he looked at Lu Ming and Bai Qi Shui. In addition, many Sky Prides who were assigned to the 8th battlefield were also looking at Lu Ming and Bai Qi Shui with fiery eyes. Damn, Luo Tian's luck is heaven-defying. He's actually assigned to the same battlefield as Lu Ming and that chick. These two are obviously fat meat that will give him good luck. Yeah, Luo Tian's luck is too good. Most importantly, there aren't any experts in the 8th battlefield. Look, Di Shen and the others are not on the 8th battlefield. There's only one Sky Pride from the Sky Monster Valley who can compete with Luo Tian in the 8th battlefield. There aren't any other strong experts. Luo Tian's luck is too good. I'm envious. The surrounding Sky Prides revealed an envious expression. Lu Ming sneered and looked around. He found that Di Shen was assigned to the first battlefield, Ao2 was assigned to the seventh battlefield, Shuijian was assigned to the third battlefield, Wang Fengchen was assigned to the second battlefield. Those who were stronger than Luo Tian were actually not on the eighth battlefield. At this moment, Luo Tian was so excited that he wanted to roar. His luck was too good. Not only was he assigned to the same battlefield as Lu Ming, but those stronger skyprides were also not assigned to the eighth battlefield. His luck was simply heaven-defying. When he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with cold murderous intent and burning greed. Another genius from the Sky Demon Valley was just as excited as Luo Tian. He was also a peerless genius from the Sky Demon Valley. His reputation wasn't any weaker than Luo Tian's. He was also a terrifying existence. At this moment, his emotions were exactly the same as Luo Tian's. He was extremely excited. Di Shen, Shuijian, and the others harumphed coldly. They had missed out on Lu Ming. In their view, Lu Ming's destiny was destined to be snatched away by someone. The faces of Du Songjue and the others turned solemn. Lu Ming, Qi Shui, the battle will last for an hour. Try to drag it out as long as you can. If the situation doesn't look good, admit defeat immediately, understand? The two of you will definitely be targeted. Du Songjue warned seriously. Senior Du, don't worry. I know what to do. As for Bai, Lu Ming smiled, looking at Bai Qi Shui. Bai Qi Shui widened her eyes and stared at him without blinking. Bai. Qi Shui, once we enter the battlefield, find a place to inscribe a defensive array. I will go find you. If you can't win, admit defeat as soon as possible. Lu Ming said. You will come find me, right? Bai Qi Shui stared at Lu Ming and asked. Yes. Lu Ming touched his nose speechlessly. Hee, then I will definitely persevere until you come find me. Bai Qi Shui laughed happily. Lu Ming was even more speechless. Yan Quangtu, Du Songjue and the others revealed an I-see expression and an inexplicable smile. Ru Kong, you will be in the same battlefield as Di Shen. If you encounter Di Shen, admit defeat immediately, understand? Du Songjue looked at Ru Kong and instructed. Ru Kong was Du Songjue's disciple. I understand. Ru Kong nodded. Buzz. At this moment, there was a fluctuation in the space. Lu Ming and the others felt a force pulling them and they were pulled towards the 8 battlefields. Lu Ming, Bai Qi Shui and the others flew towards the light shield of the 8th battlefield. As they approached the light barrier, their bodies began to strangely shrink. Finally, they entered the light barrier and disappeared. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared in a barren mountain full of stone walls. The 8th battlefield was filled with barren mountains and stone cliffs. It was desolate without a single blade of grass or tree. There were only stone cliffs and rocks everywhere. I heard that everything in this battlefield is very hard. Let's give it a try. Lu Ming threw a punch at a giant stone. Boom! Only a corner of the giant stone was broken. The rest of the stone was intact. It's so hard. Although I didn't use my full strength, the punch just now could shatter a few mountains outside. Here, it can only break a corner of a giant stone. Lu Ming sighed secretly. Here, he could unleash his combat strength to his heart's content. Let's go find Qi Shui. With a step, Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky, turning into a ray of light and disappearing into the horizon. Although this battlefield was 100,000 miles long and wide, it really wasn't big for these geniuses who were participating in the battle for Providence. An hour was enough for them to go back and forth many times. Among those who could turn Providence into a python, the weakest was at Qin Qingshan's level. After such a long time, Qin Qingshan's cultivation had already reached the 7th level of the spiritual sea realm. It could be said that among those who participated in this battle, the weakest cultivation was at the 7th level of the spiritual sea realm. The 7th level of the spiritual sea realm was extremely fast. It really didn't take much time to cross the distance of 100,000 miles. Outside the battlefield, everyone was watching with their eyes wide open. From the outside, the 100,000-mile territory had shrunk to 10 miles. It had shrunk by 10,000 times. If a person was placed inside, it was almost impossible to see. But those who had reached the spiritual God realm or even the supreme realm had terrifying eyesight. In their eyes, they could still clearly see the movements of everyone inside the light shield. Not good, there's an expert heading towards Qi Shui. A senior elder of the Talisman Puppet sect cried out worriedly. At this moment, Bai Qi Shui was in a stone forest, constantly inscribing inscriptions and setting up a formation to prepare for defense. I hope that girl Qi Shui can't take it and quickly admit defeat. Du Songjue was a little worried. Just a moment ago, they knew that Bai Qi Shui had obtained the emperor's inheritance, and they were incomparably excited. Bai Qi Shui's value in their hearts had risen. Nothing could happen to Bai Qi Shui. Even if she lost 90% of her providence, nothing could happen to Bai Qi Shui. After Bai Qi Shui obtained the emperor's inheritance, her cultivation in the path of inscription had increased a lot. With a wave of her finger, endless inscriptions entered the mountain forest. In just a few minutes, who knew how many inscriptions had been inscribed? Ha ha ha, it's the girl from the Talisman Puppet sect. My luck is too good. With a loud laugh, a genius from the Heavenly Corpse sect appeared. A 15-foot-long flood dragon of providence appeared above the genius of the Heavenly Corpse sect. His eyes were blazing as he stared at the 30-meter-long flood dragon of providence above Bai Qi Shui's head. He wished for nothing more than to swallow Bai Qi Shui whole. This girl is mine. A cold voice sounded. The sky trembled as another figure appeared. It was a young man with a gloomy gaze. Demonic chi surged from his body, and there was also a 20-meter-long flood dragon of providence above his head. If you want this girl's providence, then it'll depend on your ability. Chapter 962. In their opinion, Bai Qi Shui was just a piece of meat on a chopping board that could be slaughtered at any time. Their opponent was the other party. Therefore, the two sides confronted each other. Then I'll kill you first before dealing with this chick. The Sky Monster Valley's genius released a shocking murderous intent. In a flash, he pounced towards the Heavenly Corpse sect's genius. You're courting death. The Heavenly Corpse sect's genius also shouted coldly, and the two of them started fighting. Bai Qi Shui was stunned for a moment, but she seized the opportunity to quickly inscribe array formations. She had already inscribed countless array formations. Swoosh! Suddenly, a golden spear light pierced through from the other side. Its target was Bai Qi Shui. It was a genius from the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, and his eyes flashed with pride. In his opinion, the Heavenly Corpse sect and Sky Monster Valley's geniuses were really stupid. They actually started fighting, which was good for him. He wanted to kill Bai Qi Shui in one fell swoop and obtain Bai Qi Shui's 100,000 luck points. Oh no! There are others. The geniuses from the Heavenly Corpse sect and Sky Monster Valley wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Rise! At this moment, Bai Qi Shui shouted. She took a step forward and an array formation appeared. A huge ancient shield appeared in front of her. Bam! The spear light pierced the shield, and there was a loud boom. However, the shield did not break, and it only shook a little. What a tough shield! The young man in the golden robe appeared with a cold look in his eyes. Swoosh! 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 Suddenly, the long spear in his hand pierced 16 times in a row. 16 spear lights pierced through the void and pierced towards Bai Qi Shui. Bai Qi Shui shouted. Her fingers danced, and another array formation shone. This time, more than a dozen array formations shone at the same time. More than a dozen ancient shields appeared, blocking Bai Qi Shui from all directions. At the same time, a circle of light enveloped her. From the very beginning, the formations that Bai Qi Shui had set up were all defensive formations. Her goal was to defend. As long as she defended, she would wait for Lu Ming. she believed that Lu Ming would definitely arrive. Clang! 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 More than a dozen spear lights pierced the ancient shield, but the shield only shook for a moment and blocked all of them. It couldn't be broken. The young man in the golden robe looked at the Heavenly Corpse sect's geniuses. Everyone, this chick has some skills. Of the array formation defense of the array of us. Of us if we waste too much time, or demon Luo of the demon of. Oh? Of us. Of us, the, of us with the. With you. Alright, let's do that. Let's attack together. The three parties reached an agreement and attacked at the same time. Instantly, Bai Qishue's defense began to shake violently. In the outside world, Du Songjue and the others were worried. Qi Shue's defensive formation is quite mysterious. It must be related to the inheritance that she obtained. However, she won't be able to hold on for long if the three geniuses join forces. The founding elders were discussing. Oh no, Lu Ming is going to meet an expert. One of the founding elders suddenly shouted. The others hurriedly looked in Lu Ming's direction. Lu Ming was flying at top speed. He had already flown for tens of thousands of miles. Whoosh! Suddenly, a terrifying saber light slashed toward Lu Ming from the side. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He suddenly stopped and dodged the saber light. A young man with a saber on his back appeared in front of Lu Ming. Ah, I didn't expect to be so lucky to meet you first. Lu Ming, your luck points are mine. The young man with the saber looked excited and ecstatic. He really didn't expect to meet Lu Ming first. There weren't many top experts in Battlefield number 8, but there were many weaker ones. For example, there were many geniuses in the top 100 of the list of top 1,000 talents. He, Luo Dao, was ranked 48th on the list of top 1,000 talents. In his opinion, he could kill Lu Ming. After killing Lu Ming and obtaining Lu Ming's luck points, he would find a place to hide. After an hour, he would be able to obtain a huge amount of luck points. Luck! Get lost! Lu Ming strode forward. Die! Luo Dao unsheathed his saber. The dazzling saber light seemed to be able to split the world as it slashed toward Lu Ming. On the spectator's stand, Du Songjue and the rest could not help but feel anxious. Would Lu Ming be able to block this saber? Not only the Talisman Puppets sect, but the experts from Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Heavenly Corpse sect, and Sky Demon Valley were also watching Lu Ming. Lu Ming, that little bastard. If he doesn't admit defeat, he'll be dead. Luo Dao is a rare genius among the Emperor Heaven Imperial Guard, the Wang family head sneered. But before he could finish, he froze. This was because Luo Dao was already dead. Lu Ming did not stop moving. He stabbed out with his spear, and a spear light that was 10 times brighter than Luo Dao's saber light pierced through the void. It shattered his saber light and pierced through Luo Dao's throat. Luo Dao's eyes widened. They were filled with doubt, shock, and indignation. How could Lu Ming be so powerful? How could he kill him with a single strike? At this moment, he was filled with regret. Did Lu Ming really obtain so many luck points by luck? This was the last thought in his mind. Roar! Once Luo Dao died, the luck dragon above Lu Ming's head swallowed Luo Dao's luck dragon. Then, Lu Ming's luck dragon grew by another 6 feet. Everyone around the spectator stand was silent. The Wang family head was extremely embarrassed. Du Songjue and the others were overjoyed. It seems that Lu Ming's ability to obtain an 80-feet dragon of luck is not completely useless. He is quite capable. An elder from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace said. Luo Dao is only ranked 48th on the list of top 1,000 talents. There are many people stronger than him. He's the target of all. Even if he's capable, he's still going to die. The Wang family head said coldly. On the battlefield, Lu Ming put away Luo Dao's storage ring and was about to continue flying forward. Suddenly, there was a sound in front of him. Another young man appeared and blocked Lu Ming's path. This young man was full of corpse chi and had a fierce look in his eyes. Shi Ming, ranked 30th on the list of top 1,000 talents, someone shouted. Haha, let's see how Lu Ming is going to die now. The Wang family head laughed. Some people from the Heavenly Corpse sect also smiled. If Shi Ming could obtain Lu Ming's luck, it would be a great thing for the Heavenly Corpse sect. You killed Luo Dao. Hee, you seem to have some combat strength. But you're dead meat now that you've met me. Shi Ming sneered. Above his head, a 99 feet long flood dragon circled. He was almost at the stage of transforming his luck into a dragon. You're courting death. Lu Ming did not stop. He strode forward and punched out. You're the one who's going to die. Shi Ming waved his hand, and a refined corpse pounced on Lu Ming and punched out. Bam!